Hey folks, what's up? J. Anthony Thompson here, and I wanted to put out another video getting into some specifics with the DM-4800, which should also be applicable to the DM-3200 as well. And what I want to talk about today is how to use the effects in the DM-4800. If you're not using them, and you really should think about it, even if you have, Logic or Sonar or Nuendo, whatever else you have, you want to start using these effects. You want to do that for two important reasons. The first is, it's the way, using the DM, that you're able to provide a vocalist with reverb while you're recording, and that reverb is not recorded. The second thing is, Logic, which I use, is a very strong program, and a lot of the DAWs are, and they provide you with a lot of different functionality. You can record, and edit audio. You can record and audit and edit MIDI, and then they'll provide you with software instruments, and also provide you with some effects, reverbs, choruses, delays, compressors, EQs, all that sort of thing. But the reality is when you get all those things in a bundle, then you're not necessarily going to get the best of breed when it comes to things that really require a lot of detail in terms of design, when that's what we're talking about when we get into talking about these effects. So while I think they are a good start and a way to get things going, if you really want to graduate your sound up to that next level, then you really need to leverage the investment that you made when you bought the Tascam DM-3200 or the 4800. And the reason I'm saying that is that it comes equipped with essentially two effects modules, is what we'll call them. And the first group of effects, which are, a lot of your delays and phasers and choruses and pitch shifting, all that type stuff comes from Tascam. And the other, module would be from TC Electronics. And if you don't really know anything about TC Electronics, you should probably look them up. Just do a Google search on TC Electronics and go see what they have, and you will see that you're now talking about that upper echelon of effects processing, and you have that built in here. So I'm just going to talk to you about just the basics of how to get it set up so you can begin to use these effects and really help to graduate your sound to the next level and to begin to better leverage what's happening here with the DM. All right, thanks. Okay, so let's dive in here. The first thing we want to do is get to the routing screen. If you have a DM-4800, then there's a button just to the right of the output assigns that'll take you there. And you can also get there from Alt-6 on the screen code and numeric entry keypad. And what I want to do first is talk briefly about the way that my DM is set up, and in the event that yours is set up a little bit differently, then you can hopefully kind of make the translation to kind of how yours is set up, and really begin to kind of make some of these changes. So at any rate, the way that I'm set up is channels 1 through 24. This is song 1 through 16, but you'll see 1 through 24 for me are all mic line inputs. So the way that my DM is set up means that when I'm recording audio from any source, whether it's from vocals, drum kit, guitars, basses, other instruments, I always have inputs 1 through 24 on my mixer set up to bring in audio, and I kind of leave it that way because I don't like to make a lot of changes, and plus there's so much functionality on this board that you can kind of do that. And so essentially then kind of starting at channel 25, which if you kind of do the complete wraparound, actually is the first fader again. 1 and 25 are essentially the same fader. So essentially my returns from my FireWire card through my computer in Logic, you'll see from slot 1-1, slot 1-2 through slot 8. So my returns 1 through 8 are coming back there, and then all the way up through 32, and so it allows me to kind of work my way through the layers of my board that way. So I get my 24 ins and I get 32 outs, which is that's pretty heavy stuff there. So what we want to talk about first is setting up the auxiliary sends that you're going to use for these effects processors. So again, we talked about there's essentially looking at this like there's two stereo effects processors that are built into the board. And so what you want to see here is on the output from the router screen here, you'll notice that the effect sends for me are auxiliary 9 and 10. And the way you get to that, if you use pod 3, you kind of roll through these, but here's my effect send 1, my effect sends 2. So I'm using auxiliaries 9 and 10 for the first module, and I'm using 11 and 12 for the second one. So left, right sort of deal. But should you want these to be something else, then you can just use the jog wheel and change them to whatever you want. You can make them 8 and 9 if you want, but like I said, I like 11 and 12 for my second one, 9 and 10 for the first. And so setting those up here, it's pretty simple, and I'm using all here, and for that part of being able to ship these sounds out to the auxiliary sends, that pretty much is done. And now we just need to make sure that we have somewhere to bring them back to. So we go back to the input screen, and I'm going to roll down here. Now I'm at the end of my 32 returns, and so what I'm doing is I'm using these other positions, essentially giving up 29 through 32 in these slots, because how often do I need 32 returns, right? I probably could have put them up here too, but essentially what I've done then is, if you use pod 4, let you roll down to effects return here, and so if I now come here again, I can cycle through my choices, and since it's effect return, you only get effect 1 left, effect 1 right, effect 2 left, effect 2 right. And so if you look at the way these are set up, then what plays back on channel 53 for me is effect 1 left, 54 is effect 1 right, 55 is effect 2 left, and 56 is effect 2 right. So what I've done for the purposes of demonstration is I have a small piece of audio here, and what I've done is I have assigned that in Logic to play back on outs 9 and 10. So on that stereo pair, so that stereo pair for me actually is channels 33 and 34 physically on the mixer. But if you kind of looked at it logically, kind of working your way across, starting at 25, then it's 9 and 10. Pretty straightforward. And what I'm going to do now is go to the effects screen. And so you'll notice we don't have to pay too much attention to what's going on up here just yet, but let's take a look down here. You'll see it says effects 1, then effects 1 library, effects 2 library. So when I click on effects 1, whatever is the active effect is the one that's going to show up here